Hey, Phil Cardinale here, talking about a new segment, Phil Friday. Usually we get a lot of questions about product and things that we do at Radical. So I got a list of some questions right here about ball development and what some of the processes are. And usually it gets answered, but over several maybe different podcasts or whatever. So we're going to try to address some of them today, maybe give you an insight into what I actually have to do to launch a new ball. So the first thing we have to decide is ball motion. You know, what ball motion are we looking for in the Radical line? Usually the environment dictates the ball motion for us. Depending on what era you're in. Right now, skid flip seems to be the most prevalent ball motion desired by most of our customers. So we gear our product towards becoming the big flip company. It's interesting because that's achieved in many, many ways. So you have to get the right combination. We look at the core and the cover combination to decide how much flip and what motion it's going to give us, because the consumer sees certain things and likes certain ball motions. Usually with skid flip, you don't get a ball that continues that much. It's usually a hook stop. And although that looks good sometimes, it's always not the best for scoring properly, you know, and duration of use. So what we like to have is to create a combination of skid flip but continuation. And that's where Radical gets separated from some other companies, because we're able to do that. We modify the core to create more continuation, and then we adjust the cover stocks. So we work on all of the aspects of that design, but it's based on a ball motion that we think the environment wants to see at that time. If it changed tomorrow, we would have to go back and decide what changes we need to make to give you the motion that you guys want. But right now it's skid flip. We have the biggest flipping balls in the market, and we also have the most continuation. So that's our goal, and we do everything on CATS or Specto now, where it records the ball motion, so we really don't have opinions, we have data. You know, balls that continue, enter the pocket, and what board do they exit the pin deck at. That shows continuation. We want balls that do that, we don't want balls that deflect. So that's the goal, and usually it's the environment that dictates the motion that we're looking for. Another question I get all the time, and this is always a tough one, is where do you guys get the colors? You know, you realize there's a limited amount of colors available. You know, we always tackle that problem. What colors do we use? What colors blend together? You know, it's interesting, if you mix chocolate milk, you don't get chocolate and milk, you get a different color. The problem occurs the same way with bowling balls. You have 3 colors or 2 colors that look great separate. When you put them together, that other color it creates could be a disaster. So, you know, we always look to get certain results, no pun intended, of the colors ahead of time. If we mix certain colors, what are they going to yield as a third color or a fourth color? What I do is I look at other industries. So when I'm selecting a color, I look at the other industry. Years ago, I looked at the car industry, because they spend millions of dollars to figure out what colors are going to be popular. When you look at the fashion industry, the same thing. So I look at other industries. One of the places that I got the colors for the results, I looked at the NFL. They have great color combinations. You realize how much money they spend over the years to have the right colors for the team that create loyalty and people buy in. Obviously, you watch people, they buy the colors of shirts, the jerseys. So I looked at the NFL, and the results came from me looking at the San Francisco 49ers colors. You know, we've had other balls in the market, which we'll talk about on another session down the road. But again, a lot of times we look at the NFL for colors, the car industry, the fashion industry. You know, we tap any resources we can. We have a color wheel that you can slide, and it tells you what the third color or the fourth color is going to be. But again, it doesn't always come out exactly that way, and sometimes you get that ugly brown mixed in with the vibrant other colors. We just keep looking around and seeing what colors have been used that we can choose from one ball and apply it to another. You know, but colors are always tricky. It's not really the hardest part, but it's right up there, because you have to go back and look at, does it remind someone of a different ball years ago that they didn't like? So we juggle that a lot. So continuing along in the process, the toughest part that I found over the years is coming up with names. Names are usually the hardest part, because what sounds good today doesn't sometimes sound good tomorrow. So normally what I do is take a name, just jot it on a piece of paper, stick it in the drawer. Actually, the list is pretty long. And then as time goes on and we need a name, I try to pull one out from that list. One of the biggest problems you have is, does the name get taken somewhere else? You have to go back and check, was it used 25, 30 years ago? And sometimes you forget that ball was made already. But in the case of the results, that seemed to be a perfect name because of all of the effort that went into developing the ball. We kept looking for results. You know, the testing, the ball performed a certain way. Again, it had everything about it was the results of something that had been done before it. So, you know, we developed that ball to get around some of the rules that were put in place because customers were looking for the ball to perform. They wanted certain results from their performance with the balls that had holes in them. We were able to develop a ball that reacted as if it had a hole in it. So the name results seemed to fall right into place for us. And that's where that one came from. And then one of the other questions is, do I have a set routine for developing a ball? And I do. I have a regimen that sets up. You know, one of the things we do first is look at the line as a whole and see what part of the line is going to go away soon. And that may be a spot we're looking to fill. You know, in the case maybe the Intels, they got discontinued. So we would be looking to fill that spot in the line. Unless it's brand new technology where we're launching it, as in the case of the results, we had new technology, we had a new cover stock with the textured Pearl 1, TP1, and we had a new core design because of the USB-C rules. So in that case, the regimen sort of fell by the wayside. We weren't looking to replace anything, we were looking to add a new dimension to it. But in the case of replacing, if we got a ball that we're discontinuing at a certain price point, I look to put a ball in that spot for the next launch, or maybe a launch or two down the road. So we have to start about a year ahead of time anticipating what's going to go away and what's going to stick around. And then once we do that, we pick out the core numbers. Mo will design the shape, and then we'll take that shape and I'll look at cover stocks that we have available that are going to give us that motion that has to fit in that spot. So it's sort of a set routine. When the testing comes, we go to the bowling center. I do it a little different than everybody else. I get the testers to show up and we just walk in and bowl. We don't dress the lanes. We just bowl on whatever's out there initially. Because that's what a lot of people have to do. You walk into a bowling center to bowl league and you may be the second shift or the first shift. It depends on who bowled before you. So that's what we do, and we compare that ball to other balls in the line to make sure it fits in the right spot. Then after that test is done, we'll start on a fresh condition, a fresh house shot. And then there's always the throwbot that gets the ball, and we look at the data to make sure that what we saw at the lane and what throwbot is telling us matches. But the regimen that we follow is pretty strict. You know, I pick a target. The target is based on what's in the line or what's going out of the line. It could be based on the performance that we need in the environment. Has things changed? If it's new technology, that's the first part. And then from there on, everything we do after that is the same. I get multiple cover stocks wrapped around a core. We drill them all the same. I have the same bowlers throwing them. So we try to keep it with as few variables as possible so that when the end comes and we have the ball, we pretty much are sure it's going to do exactly what we wanted it to do and it fits in the line in the exact spot we wanted. That's all I have to cover on this segment. Hopefully we'll have some more down the road, and stay tuned. Wow, that's radical. Talk to you soon.